I didn't like Jurassic World, but it's not because I'm some impossible to please fanboy. It's not impossible to get me to like a sequel to Jurassic Park. I thought The Lost World had some decent parts in it, and I thought Jurassic Park III was a better than average run away from monsters movie. I don't feel like Jurassic World failed me as a Jurassic Park fan, I feel like it failed me more as a filmmaker. I've made a list of the 5 things that I think most contributed to this problem. You can consider this my review of the film. Also, just a heads up, I'm going to be spoiling everything. In fact, I'm going to assume that the viewer has already watched the movie. Number 5. There's no inciting incident. Movies need something to happen in order to get the story going. This event is called the inciting incident. In Jurassic Park, it was the worker getting killed by the raptor. In The Lost World, it was a little girl getting attacked by the compies. In Jurassic Park 3, it was a little kid getting lost on the island. But in Jurassic World, there's nothing. You might be tempted to say that the Indominus Rex breaking out of its habitat was the inciting incident, but I'm arguing that it's not. Because there's no reason given as to why the Indominus Rex escapes now. Why now? Why wait until the same weekend that Claire's nephews are visiting? Why wait until the CEO of the company is in town? How are all these factors connected? The answer is they're not. It's just stupid movie serendipity. Number 4. Charmless characters. Claire's probably the most fleshed out character in the film, but she's still pretty boring.
Oh god.
She's got basically the exact same arc as Alan Grant. She goes from disliking children to kinda sorta understanding the appeal.
Think it'll scare the kids?
And that worked for Grant, but not for Claire.
Is that good?
It just goes to show that execution is way more important than concept. I bought into Grant's transformation because he spent the whole movie with Lex and Tim. They became real compatriots. He saved their asses a dozen times. Claire, on the other hand, spends like 20 minutes with the kids, and she only kinda sorta saves them once. Next up we have Owen, played by Chris Pratt, who may or may not be the protagonist depending on who you ask. Everybody remember the first clip that they released where Chris Pratt is chiding Bryce Dallas Howard for not wanting to bang him? That scene is just as creepy and gross in context within the film as it was watching it as a standalone YouTube video. Is this supposed to be funny? Are we supposed to take him as some sort of charming rogue? Why? Because he likes tequila?
What kind of a diet doesn't allow tequila?
Malcolm got away with this flirty schmoozing because he was self-effacing and he knew he didn't stand a chance with Ellie. And she knew it too.
Imperfections in your skin?
But Owen? He seems actually pissed that Claire won't sleep with him.
You can relate to at least one of those things, right?
Which makes him a really creepy, awful main protagonist. Then we have John Hammond's cursory replacement, billionaire Simon Masrani. I can't tell if he's supposed to be the personification of corporate greed or the comedic relief. They try to make him both. There's also Claire's British assistant, who's in the film for like 2 minutes before she gets eaten by a mosasaur. Lots of people have been celebrating this moment online, but I just found it uncharacteristically heartless and pointlessly cruel. I'm trying to keep this post brief, so I'm not going to run through every single character, but really, with the exception of Jake Johnson, who was only in the film for a couple of minutes, I found each and every character in this film totally charmless and unlikable. Number 3. Crappy CGI. One of the hallmarks of the original Jurassic Park was the sense of wonder you felt for seeing dinosaurs alive on the big screen for the first time. Here we are 22 years later, and the opportunity to show them for the first time is long gone. But you'd think they would have at least improved CGI in all that time. In fact, I think it somehow got worse. Look at that!
On our planet right now.
The film is sorely lacking the interactions between the dinosaurs and the characters that made the first film so engrossing. Okay, so a mosasaur jumps out of the water and splashes the crowd. Okay. Where's the clicking toe claw? Where's the dilating eye? Where's the hats getting blown off? That's all been replaced by CGI stuntmen and painfully obvious green screen. As a result, I feel the same disinterest that the park's guests do. That's not supposed to happen. Number 2. Weaponize the raptors? Don't get me wrong, I think the idea of using the raptors to hunt Indominus Rex was one of the cooler ideas in this film. But then they went one step beyond that. They have some InGen security officer who wants to introduce raptors on the battlefield? Why? Even if you could control the raptors perfectly, wouldn't that still be cost prohibitive? Doesn't every raptor cost like millions of dollars? Isn't this like the stupidest idea ever? Granted, most of the characters in the film agree that this plan is nuts, but I never understood why the engine security dude thought it was a good idea either. Seeing as how he's the primary antagonist of this film that's not a dinosaur, you'd think they would have squared that motivation away before barreling forth with production. Number 1. That stupid ending. Everything about this ending is stupid. The engine security dude gets offed so suddenly and so randomly that it borders on parody. I feel it goes beyond Deus Ex Machina. It's like the screenwriter had an eliminate primary antagonist button on his keyboard. Claire then lets the T-Rex out of its pen to go fight Indominus. This moment right here, which is clearly supposed to be like the most triumphant moment of the film, is where I feel like the filmmakers totally failed me. And I think the thinking went something like this. They figured the biggest mistake of Jurassic Park III was killing off the T-Rex in 30 seconds. Close, but not quite. The biggest mistake of Jurassic Park III was only having the T-Rex in the film for 30 seconds. You can kill off the T-Rex. It can be done, but only if she gets the level of attention and screen time that a hero deserves. The T-Rex in Jurassic World isn't treated like a beloved character, she's treated like a MacGuffin. It's like we're supposed to tap into some wellspring of emotion that the other previous Jurassic Park films have engendered in us, so that this scene in this movie will mean anything. The filmmakers expect the previous entries in the series to do all the work for them. That's really probably my one-sentence review of the film. You want to hear Malcolm's?
You stood on the shoulders of geniuses to accomplish something as fast as you could, and before you even knew what you had, you patented it and packaged it and slapped it on a plastic lunchbox, and now you're selling it. You want to sell it.
For all my criticisms, I can appreciate director Colin Trevorrow's clear respect for the property. Henry Wu has a line in there about how they've always been tweaking the genomes to make the dinosaurs more enjoyable for the public, which I think is the perfect way to explain why the raptors don't have feathers. At one point, the T-Rex smashes through a Spinosaurus skeleton, which I can only imagine is an intentional dig at JP3, and that made me chuckle. Little nods like that, little references to the other films were, unfortunately, I think, the best parts of the movie. All in all, I'd say Jurassic World isn't bad, but it's certainly not good. Maybe a C. And I simply refuse to believe that that's the most we can get from a Jurassic Park sequel. What I want to make clear is that the only reason I'm so hard on this franchise, that I expect so much from it, is because I love it so much. Despite all my criticism here, you can bet I'll be first in line for the next one. At the same time, I don't think Jurassic Park is the only dinosaur film franchise that should be allowed to exist right now. There should be competing franchises. And on that note, if any producers are watching, I've got a couple scripts I'd be happy to discuss with you. What? Yeah, these are dinosaurs in my tag.